Hello YouTube universe, welcome to the channel and to today's video. Today I whip out my crystal ball and tell you the bona fide, 100% accurate, no doubt NFL Week 1 picks for every single game. There's a few disclaimers in there because it's Week 1 and nobody knows what the hell happens in Week 1. So we're going to go through game by game, talk you through what I have chosen, why I have chosen it, give you all 16 winners plus a little parlay at the end if you're so inclined. If you enjoyed this video, please hit that subscribe button because we will be doing these every single week of the season, regular season, playoffs, Super Bowl. You better believe it will be here every single week. So please do hit that subscribe button, like the video if you enjoy it, and stick around, strap in for yet another incredible season of football. So where else to start but Week 1, Game 1, Thursday night football, Thursday night kickoff on NBC. The Buffalo Bills travel to the reigning champion Los Angeles Rams. The pretty pick for this game is probably the Bills because they are the darling team. They're the team that everybody looks at and goes, there's really nothing wrong with you. And they're kind of right. They're mostly right. There is very little wrong with the Buffalo Bills. I would suggest the running game is going to be just as unhelpful and inefficient and just non-existent as it was last season. Devin Singletary is still listed as number 1 on the depth chart going into the year. James Cook, the rookie, will be involved here and there, but I don't think he's going to revolutionize that aspect of their game. So they're still going to rely on both Josh Allen's arm and his legs, but he's got an MVP arm and MVP legs in my opinion, so that's not a bad thing to have to rely on. The defense has been bolstered. They've put John Miller. Yes, the new John Miller, an accountant from, Chicago, not Von Miller, elite NFL linebacker, still to this day an elite pass rusher, adding some extra spice to that defense, which is exactly why I am going for the Rams. Make no mistake, the Rams are not a bad team still. They did lose Von Miller. He's jumped to the opposition. They literally have that flip-flopping against them, but this is still the same Rams team pretty much that won the Super Bowl. They still have the human wrecking ball, Aaron Donald, dual-wielding helmets, hopefully not in-game. That would be a bit of a disaster. I think the X factor is going to be Mr. Allen Robinson. I think Allen Robinson gives you everything OBJ did and more. He's going to be there for the full season. The fact he produced anything close to what he did, having dealt with such wonders at quarterback in his past as Blake Bortles, Mitchell Trubisky, Nick Foles. Like, come on. The kid, he's 28. He's still only 28, though. It feels like he's been around for a lifetime. Allen Robinson is going to explode this season in Los Angeles with Matthew Stafford throwing the football. It does mean Cooper Kupp's value is going to drop a little bit, so you fantasy owners that took Kupp in the first round, still moronic, but that's okay. I think the Rams bring it back to where it all happened. Next game up are going to start this season on a high, and they're going to take the win over Buffalo. Let me just get my very professional tan out here. Hold on. Yes. Tick. Los Angeles Rams take the season opener on Thursday night. This next game on the slate, the first one listed here for Sunday, there's a little bit less to think about here, isn't there? The New Orleans Saints at the Atlanta Falcons, fresh off losing their starting quarterback. We'll talk a little bit more about him when we hit the Indianapolis Colts game later on. But this one has to go to the Saints. I mean, there's not a match there. I'm excited to see Jameis Winston. He was playing at a good level of football at the start of last season before he went down hurt. I think he's going to come back into this team with some good weapons around him. We don't yet know the full status still, I don't believe, of Alvin Kamara. So Mark Ingram might still have a role to play in that offense. We do know that Michael Thomas is on the way, and he is still going to be an elite guy. He's not someone you can just forget about. Jameis Winston can throw the ball to Michael Thomas, and Michael Thomas can and will make plays for this team. They've added Jarvis Landry. He's not a number 1 guy. I don't think he has to be. Michael Thomas can be that number 1 guy, but Thomas and Landry as your top 2 threats. Alvin Kamara doing everything that he does out of the backfield. Taysom Hill is still someone they're going to throw in there and do his weird Taysom Hill stuff. I think the Saints still have an offense that can work. Their defense is still elite. They did lose C.J. Gardner-Johnson, and that was disappointing for them. It's definitely taken a bit of a shine off of it, but that defense is more than capable of keeping up with the Falcons and Marcus Mariota. You look at this Falcons roster, and there's just not a whole lot there. Marcus Mariota at quarterback, Cardell Patterson, if I can get his name out of my mouth, Cordell Patterson had his season last year. I don't think he's going to have it again. It seemed like one of these gadget one-year things that just isn't going to be repeated. The only other option to give the ball to an offense is Kyle Pitts, and he's still a second-year tight end. Yes, he's as talented as they come. He had 1 touchdown last year with Matt Ryan throwing him the football. Marcus Mariota might lean on him a little bit more. He might go for him. He's a big tight end. It's a safety blanket. Marcus Mariota likes throwing to tight ends. He might see some more action this year. He kind of has to, because I don't know where else he'd go with the ball. Rookie Drake London is going to be hopefully a hit in that offense. I think he can be. But again, he's a rookie wide out. You can't put all your eggs in that basket. And the defense, again, I think the less said about that, the better. The Saints, I think, comfortably take this one. I've made a dot here on the screen. I'm very disappointed in myself, but it's going to have to stay, so I can't figure out how to get rid of it. Game number 3 on the slate is in Chicago at Soldier Field, and it's going to be the 49ers to take the win in that game. All you heard out of Chicago this offseason was, this player's hurt, this player's, angry, this player's holding out. There was nothing but seemingly negative off-season energy coming out of that team. And that, you can live with that if you're a talented roster, but this one just isn't. David Montgomery at running back, we know he's a solid player. Darnell Mooney's their number 1 guy at wideout. Justin Fields still has all the potential in the world, but we've not seen it yet, and I really want to, but I don't think this is the year. I think it's going to be a long, old season for the Bears, and I think they're probably going to see another coaching change by the time it's out, and Matt Eberflus is not going to last. In San Francisco, we're seeing the start of the Trey Lance era, although Jimmy Garoppolo is still there, so is it the Trey Lance era all in, or are they like, Trey, you might suck, we'll keep Jimmy G around? Hard to tell how that dynamic's going to work. The two seem to get along, there's nothing to suggest they don't, but if you're the new starter been thrown in there, and your predecessor who's led the team to the playoffs, deep into the playoffs before, is there looking over your shoulder, that can't be the best feeling in the world. However, this team is full of weapons. Deebo Samuel and Brandon Ayuk out wide. Some questions at running back. Elijah Mitchell, how good is he going to be? But the defense is still incredible as long as they stay healthy, which they struggled to do last year for sure. The Giants, this is not baseball. The 49ers take this one. They take the win at Soldier Field. Another away win to add to the list. Check. The era of the Cincinnati Bengals is not over yet, and their era, I think, of potentially being the best team in that division is definitely on track. They're going to steamroll the Pittsburgh Steelers. We'll come to why in a minute. I don't actually think the Steelers are going to be as bad as a lot of people think they're going to be, but we'll come back to that. On the Bengals, they're just a good team. All they've done is get better from last season. The big problem with the offensive line, and they've hopefully fixed it. They put in some pieces that should fix it, and you still have Joe Burrow throwing the ball to Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, and Tyler Boyd. So you're probably fine. You're probably going to be okay. You're probably still going to be a good team. This is a team that went through a lot last year, and they ended up in the Super Bowl. I think they can have a more smooth ride. The offensive line, like I mentioned, is better. They should get the Week 1 win over the Steelers. They could still do big things this year as well. And then speaking of Pittsburgh, the reason I don't think they're going to get that much worse is because the big replacement is Mitchell Trubisky, who is officially the Week 1 starter now, in for Ben Roethlisberger, who probably played much like Mitchell Trubisky did the last few seasons anyway. So I don't think the downgrade at quarterback is really a downgrade at all. It's a sideways step at most. I think Mitchell Trubisky can be serviceable. Najee Harris is going to hopefully have a breakout second year here. He already showed during year 1 what he's capable of, and I think he can have, maybe not quite to the extent of a Jonathan Taylor year 2 breakout, but he's going to be pretty close because he's a very talented runner of the ball. Outside of that, though, the team hasn't changed too much. Their defense is still in great shape. TJ Watt is still the anchor of that. They still have, Larry Ogunjobi. They still have Miles Jack, Devin Bush. I'm just reading the depth chart right now. Minka Fitzpatrick, Terrell Edmonds. This is still Cameron Hayward. This is still a really good defense. They're not going to be a steamroll for any team. They're just not going to have the offense to back it up, which is why they're probably going to struggle this year, particularly against an elite offense like the Cincinnati Bengals, who are still going to score points anyway. So Cincy wins this one and takes the 1-0 start. I'm going to say it. The Detroit Lions have a solid chance at a winning season this year and a potential wildcard playoff berth. I think that starts Week 1 in Ford Field, where I will be sitting in the stands cheering on the boys in blue, because I think they're going to get this Week 1 win over Philadelphia. I will sit here and say that I do not believe Jalen Hurts is a sustainable long-term NFL quarterback. I have yet to see it from him. He can run, he's great with his legs, he can make throws sometimes, but he's too inaccurate, too inconsistent. I don't think he's the guy, and I don't think that Eagles offense is as good as people think. A.J. Brown probably isn't going to have the same year he did last year. I don't think he's going to do it. Not that Marcus Mariota is much of a step up from Jalen Hurts, but he's a little bit of a step up. Plus they had Derrick Henry running the ball, taking everybody's attention all of the time. He had other receivers either side of him that could be serviceable. I don't think he has as much of that. Devonta Smith's a good player, don't get me wrong, but I don't think he's going to be as open as he was and racking up the yards that he did last season. Defensively, they are good. They got C.J. Gardner-Johnson from the Saints. It's a big addition. That could be an elite defensive unit this year in Philadelphia. Absolutely no question about it. They're sneaky, but I think they could be very good. I think they face the Pittsburgh problem, and their offense is probably better than the Steelers, but not better enough to make them any kind of real contender here. And I like Detroit. I really do. This team is growing. Jared Goff has another year in the Dan Campbell system. Everyone loves Dan Campbell biting kneecaps. You don't have to talk too much about him. You all know that. DeAndre Swift is going to make a step forward. Amon-Ra St. Brown now has DJ Chark opposite him. TJ Hawkinson is still there. So the offense has potential for firepower. The offensive line is there to help make that happen. The big question for Detroit is still the secondary. That is not a great looking secondary. Jeff Okudah still looks like garbage. He hasn't taken the steps forward you would have hoped from a guy that was drafted in his position. So that is still going to be a big question mark, especially when they face, Aaron Rodgers, or they have to guard Justin Jefferson and Adam Thielen, right? Like, they're going to struggle in those games still. But I think they're going to have enough about them to hang tight, stick with it, squeeze out a few wins in those games, have that winning season. Like I say, I believe that is going to start week 1 in Detroit against Philadelphia. The New England Patriots. What do we do with you? I know what we do. We hand you a week 1 loss in Miami. I think the Dolphins are just better. Mac Jones is a good quarterback. He's not a top 10 guy like some maniacs are saying. He's not the next Tom Brady. He's a good quarterback. He's a top half of the league starter, top 16 starter. I think there's nothing wrong with that, but that's what he is. Then around him, Damian Harris is your running back. You don't scare me. They have Devontae Parker, Jacoby Myers. They don't scare me either. The offensive line is okay. Defensively, they're still pretty good, but like nothing about that team screams, oh my god, you're going to make the playoffs and do well. Miami has that potential, but they're a little bit more volatile. That offense is set to explode, all hinging on Tua Tagovailoa. You brought in Tyreek Hill. You have Jalen Waddle. Chase Edmonds is still serviceable at running the ball. You have Mike Gesicki at tight end. You have an offensive line that can work. Your defense is far from bad. You have Xavier Howard in there. Melvin Ingram's a good player. Emmanuel Ogbah. You have pieces. You just need your quarterback to finally take a step up and be the guy that you hoped he was going to be. It shouldn't be any easier for him than this year, having added Hill along with the offense they had, because that wasn't a bad offense anyway. This is the big test. If they lose this game, the confidence in Tua disappears right away and people are asking for Teddy Bridgewater and the season's gone. I think they have to come out of the blocks with a bang here against the Patriots. Historically, they've been okay in this situation, and I think they're going to do it again week 1. I think the Dolphins pull out the win and get what should be a good season off to a good start. The Jets are still the Jets. Baltimore wins this one. There's not a whole lot more to say. Lamar Jackson's going to run rings around pretty much everybody on that team. He'll occasionally throw the ball to Mark Andrews and occasionally hand it off to J.K. Dobbins. The Ravens' defense, while not the elite level it was, is still good enough to take on whether it's Zach Wilson or Joe Flacco. Unclear still, I believe, at this point. There's not that much more to say. The Jets, they're making steps. They're getting there. Drafting Garrett Wilson was a good step. He's a good young rookie. He's going to be a good receiver moving forward. The defense is still okay and still growing. It was a decent unit last year, let's not forget. But they're still the Jets. They're not there yet. Baltimore takes this one. Part of me really wanted to give this one to Jacksonville because we know what Carson Wentz does against Jacksonville. But I couldn't do it. I think the Commanders take this one. But it's not going to be pretty, and I wouldn't be surprised if Jacksonville pulls out the win here. Can they make some steps forward? They overpaid yet again in free agency, this time for Christian Kirk to go alongside Marvin Jones Jr. Travis Etienne will finally get to see meaningful time on an NFL field. I'm hopeful he's going to be a solid addition to that team. Still with James Robinson backing him up, so they have a pretty good 1-2 punch there at running back. Trevor Lawrence needs to make that year 2 jump. We'll see if that happens. He had some accuracy issues last year, but he also had just team issues last year, so can't really blame him too much for that. With the Commanders, Carson Wentz has now taken the helm. Doesn't fill you with confidence, does it? Antonio Gibson at running back was almost not part of the starting lineup until the end of preseason, so that's not one to shout about either. They do have Terry McLaurin, they do have Logan Thomas. They're still a good team, and I think they're good enough to take the win here against Jacksonville. The Commanders are probably headed for a 6-11 season, 7-10 maybe, sit there in the middle. Jacksonville, they'll probably finish above Houston. It's about all I got for them. My pen betrayed me and started writing a check mark next to Jacksonville because I think my mind is still unsure about that game. So ignore that. Washington, like I said, gets the win. And then I think Baker Mayfield gets his just desserts by taking out the Cleveland Browns in Carolina in week 1. The Cleveland Browns don't look like a team that's going to do very well this year. Jacoby Brissett at quarterback, we've kind of seen how that's gone in Indianapolis and in Miami. It's not pretty. You're not going to get much forward progress down the field, and that's kind of what you need to win football games. Nick Chubb will be still Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt, probably the best 1-2 in the league, or at least one of them. But there's nothing that screams, oh my god, look at this team. Like for me, Myles Garrett, obviously incredible player. Jadeveon Clowney, the defense is still going to be pretty good, but the offense is going to stutter and stumble at least until Deshaun Watson gets back, and even then I don't think it's going to take off right away. While Carolina, I mean, they were probably a quarterback away from actually being decent a year ago, and now they have Baker Mayfield, who's not incredible, but is like better. Christian McCaffrey is back. They can run that bell cow into the ground again until about week 5 or 6 when they break him, so this is probably the best time to kind of bank on a Panthers victory. They still have some decent players. They have a good team. They're not going to pull up any trees. They're going to be 3rd place in that division, only above the even worse Atlanta Falcons, but they have enough to get a home win over Cleveland to make the fans glimmer us a little bit with some hope to start the season. The Indianapolis Colts beat the Houston Texans at NRG Stadium, and again, I don't think it's particularly close at all. The Matt Ryan era has begun, or will begin, in Indianapolis. We'll see how that goes. Throwing to Michael Pittman Jr. in his kind of growing year, his 2nd year. Jonathan Taylor still in that backfield, and the Colts defense still looking as formidable as ever. Meanwhile, on the other side, Davis Mills continues to start in Houston. He's not bad, but he's a bottom 10 in the league quarterback. Let's not dance around it. The rookie Dameon Pierce gets the nod at running back. No one knows how that's going to go, and there's a lot of empty spaces on that team as far as talent you would really count on. So Indianapolis takes a pretty easy week 1 win against Houston. And in a similar manner, I think their AFC South rivals, the Tennessee Titans, also have a pretty easy run of things against the New York Giants. I don't think the Titans are going to be that much of a force in the AFC this year, but I think they have more than enough to take out the Giants. Derrick Henry is back. See if he can stay healthy this year. I'm not so sure. He's another one of those bell cows that gets run into the ground and it cost him last season. It might do so again. They have Robert Woods stepping in for AJ Brown. That's definitely a downgrade, and Ryan Tannehill is due to become Ryan Tannehill again at any moment, but there should still be enough in this team to take out the Giants. I don't believe in the Daniel Jones experiment anymore. I think it's time for it to end. I think Saquon, it might be Saquon for a week or two before he gets hurt again. Who knows? The Giants are just worse than the Titans. It's not going to be a great game of football. You're not going to watch a superstar not named Derrick Henry, but Tennessee takes the win. A lot of people think the Minnesota Vikings are going to pull up some trees in the NFC North and take it. I am not one of those people. I think Green Bay is going to run away with it again. It starts in week 1 with a win. I like the Vikings, don't get me wrong. Dalvin Cook is a great young player. Kirk Cousins can still throw the ball well enough to hit Justin Jefferson and Adam Thielen. You know, there's pieces there. There's just not enough. I think the Packers are going to be the better team. The Packers probably don't have as many standouts, but they have Aaron Rodgers. They have Aaron Jones to run the ball. They still have, those young receivers that, Aaron Rodgers yelled at and said suck, but he's just saying that to make them play better, and it's probably going to work. And the Packers defense is another one of those sneaky ones that's probably going to be pretty good this year. Not to the level of the Eagles, I don't think, but good enough. And then they've still got Aaron Rodgers. So, you can hate the guy if you want, but he's a great football player, and he's going to win you games by himself, and he wins this one. I struggled with this one for a bit. I wasn't really sure where to go. Kansas City at Arizona. I lumped for the Cardinals in the end, and it's not because I think the Cardinals are any better than the Chiefs overall, or I don't think they will be better. I think this is the time of year, we saw last year, the Chiefs took a while to get going. I think they're going to do the same again. They've lost Tyreek Hill, replacing with Juju Smith-Schuster. They brought in MVS. There's still talent there, and you still got Patrick Mahomes throwing the ball. But we've seen that sometimes that's just not enough, and I don't think it's going to click just yet early season. The Cardinals are definitely a more complete team. Hopefully Kyler Murray did his homework. Obviously they're missing DeAndre Hopkins. That's huge. I still think they're going to get the win, but this one could go either way. I'm going to give it to Arizona, but I think Kansas City will eventually be the better team. I just think in week 1, give it to the Cardinals. A game that I don't think will be as close as some people do is this one. I think the Los Angeles Chargers take it from the Raiders pretty comfortably here, and I think this is the year of Justin Herbert. I think he's only going to get better and better. Still has Keenan Allen, Mike Williams to throw the ball to. Still has Austin Eckler in the backfield. The offensive line is still a solid unit. The defense has got better. There's not really much more to say. I think they're just a really good team that's going to win that division this year and pull up trees in the playoffs, and I think Justin Herbert's going to be the driving force. The Raiders, yeah, they added Devontae Adams. Other than that, I think they got weaker in a lot of other places. Derek Carr is still a good quarterback. He's going to hit Devontae. They're going to have some fun this year, but I think they lose this game, and I think they're going to end up below 500 as well. Only 2 to go, I promise. Tampa Bay at Dallas, and I think the Cowboys pull off the Week 1 win over Tampa Bay in the similar way to the Cowboys like to give their fans hope before they remember they're terrible again. I think that's how it's going to be this year. I think the Cowboys start pretty good here. Dak is in the lineup. It's not much has changed. Honestly, it's still Dak, Zeke, CeeDee Lamb. Those are still the guys. The offensive line's taken some injury hits, but they should still be fine. They've made some good replacements. The defense is still pretty good. I think Tampa Bay, Tom's little absence to get his face all squashed up, don't know if that's going to have done anything. There's been a few changes through that team, but not a whole lot. Again, I just think the Cowboys, they're at home. It's Week 1. Cowboys going to do what Cowboys going to do. Dak's going to throw for 350. Zeke's going to remember how to run the football again. They're going to get a Week 1 win. Again, I think the Bucs are going to be the better team overall, but the Cowboys take this one. And then finally, Russell Wilson's going to crush the Seahawks on his return to Seattle, and it's going to be ugly. And I mean, yeah, that's basically it. Have you seen these two teams? Russell Wilson throwing to Cortland Sutton, Jerry Jeudy, is Javonte Williams behind him, and they have a really great defense, whereas the Seahawks have Geno Smith. And they were a rough team to watch last year with Russell Wilson at quarterback. I do not believe Wilson is one of the top tier, even top 2-tier quarterbacks in the league right now. I don't. He's not proven it for like 2 years. But he's a damn sight better than Geno Smith. And the rest of that team does not fill me with any confidence at all that they can stop an offense like the Broncos from actually doing good things. I think it's going to be ugly, and I think the Broncos wrap up the win in Seattle. So there you have it on the screen right now. Every single one of my Week 1 NFL picks. Feel free to put your life savings on this because it's definitely going to be right. Please don't do that. I know you wouldn't because you're not a moron, but like, I have to say it. And as promised at the start of the video, a really quick parlay for those of you interested in that. I took a look at the spreads a few hours before I recorded this. This is Monday, September 5th that these odds were correct, or the spreads were correct. Make of it what you will. Bengals minus 6.5. I think they're going to win by a touchdown at home to Pittsburgh. I think the Saints are going to win by at least a touchdown against the Falcons. I think the Chargers, like I said, are going to win by a score or 2 against the Raiders. And I think the Broncos at minus 6.5 is a joke. And it will be at least 14 or 17 in favor of Denver. And there you have it, my Week 1 NFL predictions. I hope you enjoyed the video. We will be back in another week to dissect exactly what happened in Week 1 before we talk about Week 2 and see how that is going to go. If you enjoyed this video, again, please leave a like, please subscribe to the channel, leave a comment, let me know what you think. We will be back in another week, like I say, and I hope we will see you there. Please leave your picks in the comments, let me know who you think is going to win. Compete against me, take your total. I'll be having a running total all season. Hopefully I'm above 500. That would be embarrassing if I wasn't. Again, thank you all so very much for watching. Hopefully we'll see you again. Goodbye.